Danny Flexen here for SecondsOut. I'd like to be joined by my good friend, Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren, twice in 2 days. People are going to start talking. Hamzah Sheeraz against Liam Williams. A lot of people say right fight at the right time, but you had a chat with Liam both before and during the press conference. It's starting to worry you've made the wrong choice?
Look, we'll find out. He fancies it. I mean, he's coming to fight, and he really does fancy the fight. But I've got a lot of belief in Hamzah. He's a consummate professional at the moment, done everything that's been asked of him. And this could be a big bump in the road. We will find out. You know, they're both ranked in the top 10 by the WBC. You know, the winner of this will go up to, I will think, probably up to the number 2 position. So that, you know, they've got everything to go for here. But I think it'll be a cracking fight. I really do. You know, old head, new kid on the block. We'll see who's the best.
Are you confident if we do see the Liam Williams that beat the likes of Mark Heffron and so on, that rampaging Liam Williams then, that Hamzah can still get the job done? Or are you banking on it being maybe a lesser version?
I think he'll be the rampaging Liam Williams. I do believe that. But I think that Hamzah is just, you know, every fight he's coming on in leaps and bounds. As I said earlier, he's a consummate professional. He's looking much better in every fight. And his last fight was a brilliant win in Poland. You know, went to, you know, was it 46,000 Ukrainians in there. Didn't get fazed by it, and he'd done what he had to do and done it in style against a guy who's never been stopped before.
Have you ever been worried about Hamzah's progression? A lot of people talk about the Bradley Skeet fight where he struggled.
Do you know what? I can only say what I see. He beat Bradley Skeet. The first few rounds of the fight, I thought he I don't know what it was. He wasn't getting his shots up. But once he started hurting him, and he did hurt Bradley, there's no doubt about that. And I know people complained about the punch on the way down, and that was momentum. That happens if the referee at the end of the day, he's the one who calls it, and he called it how he called it. And to make amends, we said that, you know, if he felt his hard done, then we did say to Brad that he could have the rematch. He said it was too soon. We said we'd do it then afterwards, you know, it was after Christmas or whenever it was, or given a period of time. But he didn't have it, he retired. So that you're never going to know. I know, though. I know the best man won on the night, and I know that if it hadn't have been a low blow, if he'd have got up, I think it was just an inevitability that he would have stopped him.
Talks about the winner of this possibly being WBC number 2. If it is Hamzah and he comes through, how confident would you be him going for the world title straight after against whether it's Jamal Charlo or someone else?
I would give him a few more fights. You know, I don't mind getting them into the position, but when they get, you know, when fighters get to the position, you want to look. It's easy to make world title fights most of the time. The most difficult thing is winning them and having to defend it and being capable to do that. And you can only do that by getting experience, working hard in the gym, and obviously making and learning from making the fights that you learn from. So if he comes through, he's going to need a couple more fights. There's no doubt about it. It's not a rush. He's a young man. He's got you know. I think he's got a lot to give the sport, and he's a brilliant professional as a person. He's a really good guy. I think he's a great ambassador for boxing. And he's in with a guy also who really thinks he's still got a lot to give. So, have I made a mistake? We'll find out.
You mentioned his win over Mitrofanov out in Poland. He turned out to be Queensberry's only winner that night, unfortunately for Daniel Dubois. Has there been any update on his position with the WBA?
No, we've sent a solicitor's letter. Our solicitors wrote to the WBA yesterday asking them what is happening, because we've not heard anything.
And on the subject of those governing bodies in the heavyweight division, the IBF confirmed yesterday that whoever comes out on top in the undisputed fight, which you're putting on between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk, will have to defend in their next fight against their mandatory Filip Hrgovic or vacate. How do you feel about that? Do you feel it's fair?
Yeah, I mean, look, Hrgovic deserves his shot, and that's it. The main thing is, first of all, Tyson's got to look good and come through his fight on the 28th. And as far as the fight with Usyk's concerned, you know, it's signed, and let's just focus on that at the moment. I mean, everyone should be happy about that. I don't really give them. I don't mean it being disrespectful to anybody, but I don't give a monkeys about what happens after that at the moment. The most important thing is for the fight on the 28th, and then the second most important thing is for Tyson to be in the fight with Usyk. And the other things, I haven't got time to think about what's important after that.
There's been a lot of people suggesting that Hrgovic would probably be referred to as a paper champion or not taken seriously if he wins a vacant belt. What's your feeling on that?
I don't really think about it, to be honest, Dan. It's not where I'm at the moment, mate. As I said, all I care about is what we're doing. All we're doing, we're making things happen. The fight that everybody had said was being avoided, which was bullshit, is happening. And that's all I care about.
Any concerns now about the Ngannou fight in that, it's great and it's getting more publicity now, but it becomes more risky than it was before?
It's risk, of course it's risky. Every fight's risky, and it is a risky fight for Tyson. But, he's got to be top of his game. If he's top of his game, I don't see anybody beating him. But I won't get off of my theory of the fight that it will be very, very exciting, because the only way I can see Ngannou winning is to put it on Tyson and take him out. He's not going to outbox him. And that's what I believe he'll do. And I believe that's how he's being trained for the fight as well.
And if Fury does beat Ngannou and then goes on to beat Usyk, a lot of ifs there, but still, bear with me. Could you see him sailing off into the sunset at that point?
Listen, whatever he's going to do, he's going to do. I'm not even thinking that far. I'm thinking at the moment, 28th. Fingers crossed, everything crossed. I'll look like Ben Turpin on the night. Everything will be crossed.
That's a reference not everyone will get, but hopefully...
I'm an old guy. I do get it, and people of a certain age would get that one.
And just on a separate subject, saw an interview earlier today with Josh Warrington, who you promoted for a number of successful years. And he was talking about the difference in promotional and managerial styles, if you like, between yourself and Eddie Hearn. And he said you were always a lot more personable, a lot more individual with him, arm around the shoulder, that kind of thing. Does that surprise you at all?
No, because I am personable and arm around. I don't look at, I very few fighters that I meet do I not get on with. I mean, listen, we all don't get on with everybody. That's life. There are a few I don't. There's a few I can quite honestly say, hand on my heart, they're total arseholes, and they'll probably say the same about me. But it's irrelevant. Josh is where he is now, and he chose his path. That was his choice.
You sad to see what's happened to his career since? I mean, I'm sure he's made plenty of money, but he obviously lost the most recent fight.
He made money with us, and when I delivered his dream. His dream was to fight at Leeds, and I made that happen for him. I promised him I'd do it, and I've done it.
Would you consider working with him again?
Only if he's looking at if he's going to fight one of my guys, yeah, maybe.
And another thing I wanted to ask you about, we interviewed Eddie Hearn maybe 2 weeks ago now, and we were talking to him about his relationship with the media. He didn't say anything about you, don't worry. Well, he did, but that's not the bit I want to talk to you about. He just said that he feels he's raised the bar for promoters in terms of how accessible they are to the media because he does so many interviews now. Do you feel that? Do you feel that there's more expectation now of you to be in front of camera?
Listen, I've been doing this a long time, and the art of promotion is being accessible to the media. So I'm always accessible to me. I don't go on the missing list. I think the thing is with him is, of course, he's accessible to media. I mean, he paid for some of them to take them abroad, doesn't he? To cover some of his shows, and they don't do one interview that day; they do 5 or 6 because that's what they're there and that's what they pay for. And I'm here not selling me. I'm here selling my fights. I'm not here selling me, saying, that I'm the best at this and I'm the best at that. Longevity is what it's all about. And we're still doing it at the very, very top level.
Do you find it more challenging now relating to the media, given there's so many outlets now?
No, not really. I find some of it, when you used to work, at the beginning, you work with journalists, proper trained journalists who maybe would go to gyms, watch guys train, would be sort of more au fait with boxing. I don't mean it being disrespectful. Some people today can just be a journalist just by getting a camera and doing an interview. And that's happened. And I have sometimes spoke with guys, I think to myself, you don't know what you're talking about. But, I'm not going to be rude to them. They've got to make their way. And hopefully it'll work for them. It's got to do what we've got to do. I mean, how many interviews we do yesterday? We must have done about 20 or whatever it was. But that's how it is now. I mean, we used to throw the floor open to the journalists, and you'd ask questions, and the journalist would ask the question, the fighter would answer. Now everybody's terrified that you guys are going to get it before the print guys get it, so your stuff would go out immediately, whereas the journalist wants a different story to put a written journal.
Do you prefer it the old way?
I think you've got to just move with the times, haven't you? Just move with the times and just get on with it. Sometimes it's frustrating. It's frustrating to keep saying the same thing after and after, where you say it once. You just say it once. You have the press conference and say it, and you might go into a little huddle and then say, whatever you're going to do. Now, there's so much of repetitiveness. That's what it is. And we'd do a press conference for the Sunday newspapers, especially just for the Sundays. We'd do things like that, and you'd do there'd be the radio and whatever. A lot of that has changed. A lot of that's changed, and also with sports editors. If you're not a massive name fighter in the newspapers, they don't, they're not really interested. And the guy's got to make a name for himself, which I find a bit sad. But that's the way the way it's done in these days.
Well, just finally then, and on that note, to end in a more positive way, you said you get asked the same thing over and over. What subject or person in your stable, perhaps, would you like to talk about that you don't get asked about enough?
That's a difficult question, Dan. We're a bit blessed. We've got a tremendous lot of talent under the Queensberry banner. I mean, a lot of talent, a lot of good kids, young kids, and I like developing young kids. I like seeing them in action. I like seeing them seeing them where they're going to get some exposure, so that people hopefully will see what I see in them. To pick one out would be a bit disingenuous to a couple of them.
What about unsung heroes at Queensberry itself?
Unsung heroes? My staff, George, they do a tremendous job. Tremendous job.
Great stuff. Frank, really appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Right, come on in.